What is going on, Sports Wars? We are here for some Monday evening quarterback where we go over some of the biggest things that happen in the NFL, some of the biggest things that happen in college football over the weekend, and we give our takes. And as always, we're joined by D-Day Cobra. Jeremy, what's up?
What's going on? Ready to talk some football. At least Alabama didn't lose this week, even though it was looking pretty scary there early on. But we survived, so I don't have to get roasted by the chat, because we all know when Alabama loses, it's the end of the world apparently, and everybody takes an opportunity to pounce. But we're good. We live to fight another week.
It only happens about once every 2 years, so it's obviously news when that happens.
It makes up for those Dubose and Shula years and Francione and all that. So I'm
biannual losses for Alabama. And of course, joining us from the road, we've got Robert Barnes. Of course, you know him from Viva Frey. You know him from his channel. You know him because he's everywhere, but he's also right here on Sports Wars for Monday Evening Quarterback. Robert, what's going on?
Tennessee hung in there for a half. They covered the first half spread. They've been a great first half cover team this year, so that was good to see. And long historic rivalry between Tennessee and Alabama, but it hasn't been a meaningful one in a couple of decades, unfortunately. So but I was glad to see him hang in there in the first half. Hooker to come back after the injury he suffered, and they gave it. They just don't have the talent and the depth that Alabama has. But they were game for about a half and a little bit of a second half, and so that was good to see. And I think it shows the Josh Heupel hire was the right hire, because Tennessee looks like they have a bright future. It may not be national title winning future, but 8-9 wins a year is a pretty good future for Tennessee football at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they run such a fast tempoed offense, and historically that's something that Nick Saban struggles against. Whenever the few times he had struggles, it was this fast tempo offenses. Of course, he has kind of shifted to more of an offensive focused team now with Alabama, so they can go blow for blow when that happens. But yeah, I was a little worried. I was a little worried there, but we got through it.
Yeah, absolutely. But someone who didn't get through this week, he didn't even finish the game, was Patrick Mahomes. And that's the first thing I want to talk about is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, who they've got a little bit of work to do if they want to make the playoffs this year, which I don't think too many people were saying that before the season started. He had a couple of hot takes, but this team is starting to look like a mess. They didn't even score a touchdown last week, or this week, I suppose. And Patrick Mahomes, at times, people are saying, oh, well, he doesn't have this. He doesn't have a line. Sometimes this man just plays hero ball and is absolutely lost out there on the field trying to do too much. And that's what we saw yet again from Patrick Mahomes, who ended up taking a big shot near the end because he hung onto the ball for too long. And, man, Robert, I don't know how much of this game you got to watch, but to me, Patrick Mahomes looks like he needs to work things out there in Kansas City.
Well, I had Tennessee on the points. I had Kansas City to score under their point total, team total, and I had the first half under. So I was happy all the way across the board. So it was a win-win-win trifecta. The Super Bowl curse continues. The Super Bowl loser has weird stuff happen in the season following it. Now, going on 6 seasons in a row, 7 seasons? I mean, it's getting – and people are like, well, that won't happen to Kansas City. It's Mahomes. It's Andy Reid. It's the Chiefs. Well, and here we are. And I have great respect for Andy Reid. All the gamblers in Vegas do, because he's one of the best spread cover NFL coaches in the history of the NFL. I think only Belichick and 1 or 2 other guys are ahead of him. But this will be his greatest test yet. I personally was never a huge fan of Mahomes coming out of college. I thought he was good, but I didn't think he would be as good as he turned out to be. So seeing some regression kind of makes sense to me. I think the big thing is one common denominator in these Super Bowl losers struggling is that defenses, or sometimes offenses, but usually defenses, find something weak or vulnerable schematically in the opposing team's personnel or system. And, I mean, basically, Belichick ended Jared Goff's career before it could get going.
Yeah.
I mean, what he exposed in the Super Bowl, he still hasn't got. That's why he's in unhappy Detroit now. Maybe something that Tampa Bay did really expose some schematic issues with Kansas City. I don't know. I've been surprised. I was betting against them all year, but I've still been surprised at the scale at which they've fallen apart. And, I still think Mahomes has the kind of confidence and the kind of character to bounce back. But that was a scary performance, and it's been an ongoing set of issues. And so we'll get to see what he's really made of in the coming weeks and what Kansas City is made of in the coming weeks.
Well, yeah, I mean, with Mahomes, somebody I think is incredibly talented, and I don't think anyone can dispute his talent, and no one with a working brain would dispute his talent. I kind of look at it from the perspective of how much he was hyped from the media and how we've consistently heard he's the greatest of all time already, and I think that that's insanity because one thing we always hear, like you look at the Brady thing, it's like, well, Brady's got a loaded team. That's of course he's doing great. Well, Mahomes has had a loaded team, a loaded offense with a veteran coach who's been to multiple NFC championships in a row, including a Super Bowl. Like Andy Reid is a great head coach that's seen a lot of success with different players at different times in his career. And so you walk into that situation, and I think Mahomes walked into a perfect situation with a veteran coach, with a great team, and he brought a hell of a lot of talent to the equation. And you saw that be maximized for a few years. And now, the league, the NFL almost always figures something out. The league will always figure out a scheme or somebody. You're not going to play. It's almost like the YouTube algorithm. You might configure that thing out for a little while, but at some point, YouTube's going to change it on you. And you were getting 100,000 views before. Now you're getting 10 because that's how the YouTube algorithm, and that's how the NFL, it will always figure you out. So you'll play great for a few years. But then the big problem right now is Kansas City gave that ridiculous contract to Mahomes. And that's going to cripple the team for the future. It just is. You're not always going to have that top tier talent that you're having right now. And so I think that's going to hurt them for the long haul. For right now, I think the Chiefs are probably still going to make the playoffs, but man, they looked really bad. Mahomes is my fantasy quarterback, so from a fantasy perspective, he's doing really well for me. But yesterday, God, thank goodness for Jamar Chase yesterday, because man, Mahomes really stunk it up for me yesterday. It was at halftime, he had -1 point in fantasy. It was so bad. But I think they're going to be fine. Have we heard the severity? Like, I know he took a hit yesterday.
He cleared concussion protocol. He could have come back on the field, but they decided not to, which is probably the right call. To me, I think we're talking a lot about Andy Reid. Robert, you talked about what a great cover guy Andy Reid has typically been in his career, but not with the Chiefs the past year and a half. When you look at like their last 16 or 20 games, they've only covered like 1 or 2 games. Like,
yeah, I've been betting against them that whole stretch because they got way overvalued.
They got way overvalued, and I think that overvalue, you see it in Vegas, but you're also seeing it, I think, obviously in the media and with the press, and I think that got to them. I really do. I think you had Andy Reid, who had a controlled situation and ran an offense a certain way. Once he got Patrick Mahomes in there, unlocked all these other things he was able to do. But then Tyreek Hill starts getting all this attention. Then Travis Kelce starts getting all this attention. Patrick Mahomes feels like he's on top of the world because everybody's telling him he is. And I feel like now they just feel like they need to do all this stuff all the time, that they can do all these ridiculous things all the time. And when things aren't working just right, you start to see them fall in a hole. And it just gets worse and worse and worse because it's like, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I can throw across my body, no problem. I can escape this. This is what we do. They're also not doing it consistently anymore.
That offense works much better when they have a reliable run game. That's always been true of Andy Reid. So I think they've got a little bit away from Edwards-Helaire. Of course, they let Kareem Hunt go because of the controversy. Now he's on the currently injured, but has been doing great stuff with the Browns. So I think they need to get back to that because Mahomes off the play action is where he is the best. And that only works when the run game is dominant. And when they got so caught up in all the crazy fun things they can do that they lost track of the bread and butter that they need to have a sustainable week in, week out offensive output.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. And I like seeing these cracks in Kansas City. I think it makes for good. I think it makes for good football talk, and I think it makes for a better league when you start to see some parity and things like that, and these dominant teams coming down. People love to root against the people on top. We've seen that with Tom Brady for years. So with Kansas City like this, gives room for the Chargers and the Raiders now to do their thing. And it'll be interesting to see.
Credit to the Titans for all the gamblers out there. Remember that when a team loses to some winless team, like the Titans lost to the New York Jets, that's a good time to bet on the Titans because they've come to back-to-back upset victories against the Bills and the Chiefs, the supposed AFC favorites in back-to-back home games. So that's credit to the Titans to make a little run.
Yeah, and the Titans looked great yesterday. You can't deny that. And they didn't even really need a lot from Derrick Henry to do it, other than a touchdown pass.
Yeah. Oh man, like Derrick Henry. Yeah, the Titans do. They look fantastic. I mean, I understand the reservations with Tannehill, but like, I mean, they just look like a well-oiled machine. And when you have Derrick Henry to take all of that attention off of other places, it allows you to maximize. But yeah, closing out on the Chiefs. Yeah, if I'm to make a prediction, it's hard for me to imagine them not making the playoffs this year. I know it's a possibility. And look, I didn't think they were going to be 3-4 at this point in the season either. It's not that Patrick Mahomes has played horrifically bad. He's been putting up really solid numbers, but what is it? 6 straight games now with an interception, I think is what it was. And
he's got like 9 or 10 interceptions on the season already, something like that.
And I mean, the key is, can he do what Tampa did last year, where they got off to a slow start, but at least we all knew why. I mean, that was Tom Brady with a new team, new scheme, new personnel. But, then they got on a roll last 6-7 weeks of the year, and then boom, rolled through the playoffs, road win after road win after road win. That's probably going to be the way they have to go if they're going to make it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just don't think that's going to happen this year. But playoffs, we're on the fence. I'm not going to be surprised if they don't. I watched that entire game yesterday. I watched it for fantasy purposes and because I'm a Derrick Henry fan, but I was shocked that they didn't get it turned around, because I felt like, okay, well, by the third quarter, they're going to really start opening it up and they're going to make this a game. And they just never recovered ever. They never were able to figure it out. And that was really shocking to me. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think that, the shine is wearing off of Patrick Mahomes just a little bit now.
Yeah. It's funny when you think about, was it the 2019 season? So when they won the Super Bowl, right? Was that 2019 when they were in the playoffs and they were down like 24-0 or 24-3 against the Houston Texans? And imagine like how different everything would be right now if they hadn't come back from that. Deshaun Watson is now sitting down, pouting, facing sexual assault allegations, while trying to get traded from the Houston Texans, while Patrick Mahomes, goes on to win a Super Bowl, and then they get all that glory. So.
Well, that's great. That's the things, though. I look at two instances. Cam Newton, if he wins that Super Bowl, if he dives on the fucking fumble, if Matt Ryan wins that Super Bowl, think about how those two quarterbacks are perceived with a ring. You know what I mean? And those moments, but just because these little things define everything. And so it's crazy to think about. It is a game of inches. It really is. Yeah.
And that was the crazy. They bottled Derrick Henry up when the Titans were up by a lot of scores. And, Derrick Henry, he's going to get the ball a lot, but they were able to bottle him up for that. So crazy stuff from Kansas City. Another big story we had yesterday was Mr. 600, and that is touchdown Tom Brady, because he now has 600 touchdowns.
And how old is he? Is he like 62 now? He's up there, right?
Well, he only looks about 32, but what is he, 44 at this
44,
point?
44.
Isn't he the oldest at this point? Has anybody started this number of games at his age at quarterback?
He's not. I don't know if he's the oldest. He's obviously the oldest that's played at this high of a level by far. I think that. I don't know off top. I want to say someone was 45.
I'm sure you had a couple people play a couple of games, but no one on this level and no one for this length of time for sure.
Not
even
NFL. Not even close to this level. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. It's insane.
Yeah, he's not just getting by. He threw 4 or 5 touchdowns in the first half yesterday.
Yeah.
I think
touchdowns in the first half.
That can't be natural health. There's got to be some AI in there. There's got to be some secret technology none of us know about or something.
Avocado ice cream. Avocado ice cream.
It can't be no avocado ice cream. He's got some, he's got something going on. But it is impressive because I thought, I thought last year he would be, but I thought last year would also be his last year. I didn't think he'd be able to come back and keep doing it like he hasn't missed a beat.
He's getting better. He's legitimately getting better. His 40 time last year was better than his 40 time at the combine, which isn't saying a whole lot. But some of the things that we're seeing him do now are things that have been his weaknesses his entire career. Pressure up the middle. Got to pressure Tom Brady up the middle. If you can pressure Tom Brady up the middle, get him off his spot, that's how you beat Tom Brady. Not anymore. Like now he's manipulating the pocket a little bit. Now we've seen him get outside the pocket a couple times this year and escape when needed, shrug off some tackles. Like,
well, maybe
the dude is insane.
Maybe the fountain of youth is hot models. But I mean, it hasn't worked for everyone else. But I mean, maybe Giselle is some sort of, whatever it is impressive performance. And he's got to be the heavy favorite for the Super Bowl again this year.
It doesn't, like, when you really think about it. And I think that the one thing about Brady, like, it's the mental aspect is probably the most impressive aspect of it. Because again, when you are that great for that long, that successful, and you're married to a woman that makes twice as much money as you, literally has nothing to prove, yet the guy shows up every day like his job is on the line. And you have to, it's almost like that Jordan thing where Jordan would make up stories about people that said stuff about him. It's such a rare thing to be on that level and still have to create these instances to motivate yourself, but he manages to do it. And I don't know how much longer he's going to do it, but I mean, it's one of the biggest Brady fans you'll find. I was just like, how's this guy going to go to a new team, a new conference, a new everything, and just do something? I didn't even think they could make the playoffs, much less win the Super Bowl last year. And now, yeah, like Ryan said, he's playing better this year than he was last year. It's insane. It's not human. It really isn't. It's crazy.
It makes you wonder a little bit if Belichick could have even won more Super Bowls if they would have surrounded him more consistently with more talent.
Absolutely, because the one thing you can't deny, yes, I mean, Brady has more talent now than he's ever had. That is not, but he's the reason that talent's there. Like, yeah, they had some talent, but like when people say, well, now he's got Gronk and he's got AB, because literally Gronk came out of retirement for Brady. AB is someone nobody was touching, but Tom Brady's leadership allowed that to happen. And Bruce Arians was against the idea at first, and then later on they bring him in. So
yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
AB got into trouble for asking people to touch him. I mean, so that's where AB was
at. I think that when you look at Belichick, I think he got a little full of himself at times and a little too into the Belichick aura. Like, we can do it with these guys. Because when you look at their drafting and what they did in the drafts and how Belichick liked to collect these draft picks, he's like, no, we'll trade this and get 2 third-round picks, and we'll have all these picks and get all these pieces that kind of fit in our system. They didn't draft well offensively in a lot of ways. The wide receiver position, you ended up seeing Tom Brady making do with people. Now, he made people's careers. Like, he really did make some wide receivers' careers up there. But you look at who he's with now, and, you never know who it's going to be. Is it going to be AB's day? Is it going to be Godwin's day? Is it going to be Mike Evans' day like it was yesterday when he had 3 touchdowns in the first half? And I'm freaking out because I'm playing Jay, who has Mike Evans and a terrible rest of his team. But I didn't know maybe Mike Evans could have 60 points today if they keep playing. It looked
like he was on pace for 60 yesterday. It was crazy.
I know. I ended up winning handily. No problem at all.
I will say this as a Brady fan last year, when he pulled that 4th down thing, when he thought it was, I was like, ooh, this looks bad on Brady. And I'm just like, what's happening to my boy here? Here we are now. It's like, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but so the man continues to do things. The only person ever to throw for 600 touchdowns in the NFL, and he will continue to push those records up and up and up. What do you guys see going? Do you think this is his last season?
No.
I don't think so
not
either.
The way he's going. I mean, I see no. Now, I mean, with quarterbacks, when they fall off, it's always sudden. It's just boom, the cliff happens. It's not a steady, gradual thing.
Okay, Max. No, I'm kidding.
But there's no way that.
No how. Monty Jones.
I just don't. I think he'll probably go for several more years.
Yeah, I mean, what did he say last time? 45, but now he's flirting 50. With like the 48 and 50s. It's like.
I bet he would love to prove it. I bet he would love to play until he's 50, just to show.
He did make a comment the other day, though. He said he could probably go to 55, but he said I got to spend time with my family at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. The dude's not human, though.
Nope,
it's crazy.
No doubt about it.
I think that 1,000% he plays next year. I think after that, a lot will be dependent on who he can get around him. Because you have this window in Tampa Bay that will close eventually. They've managed to bring everybody back, which is not something that happens ever the way that they did it. That's not going to be the case forever. People are going to want to go and get paid. People want to do this and that. So what happens after the band kind of leaves will be the question. And whether he wants to try to rebuild, that's not going to be something, or if they do think they can reload. But for right now, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the NFL.
And the two guys they had been talking about potentially surpassing his records, Mahomes, not looking great right now, and Deshaun Watson still looking for a new home, given the circumstances of this. Speaking of people who kept asking people to touch him and didn't want to, Deshaun Watson is in that same boat.
Absolutely. And we might as well talk about that right now a little bit. Some news broke that there is a trade that's very, very close for Deshaun Watson to go to Miami. And that they basically expect it to happen before the trade deadline. So it's pretty fucking quick. But a big question remains. If this happens, do they let him play? The NFL's been very hands off with this entire thing, even though they've fucking banned people for a lot less. They've suspended people for a lot less than what Deshaun Watson has against him right now. So if they trade for him, does that force the NFL to feel like they need to step in when it comes to, their policies?
Well, who's rumored to who's in the trade? Do we know?
Yeah. So right now, I think I need to go over to that Outkick.
It's not Tua though, correct?
It would be Tua.
It would be Tua,
but Tua. Right now, there would be a third team involved. That's what they're looking at, right? It wouldn't be like Tua goes to Houston, because I don't think Houston really wants him. There's a third team involved, and maybe Carolina, if I was remembering right. But,
so obviously, elephant in the room. Pardon the pun, because Bama. But I mean, I love Tua. I loved him in college. He's fantastic. But the obvious here is Tua is. We have never seen a full season from Tua. I think Tua has a ton of talent. I think he throws a beautiful pass. I think he has great vision, mobility. He's not built for the NFL. He's just not. He's never going to be. Every time this guy gets tackled, going back to Alabama, you hold your breath. And now in the NFL, he's still been injured. I just don't think that he's anybody you can build. He should be I hate to say it, he should be a backup quarterback somewhere. So to qualifying that by saying, so you've established Miami can't really put any long-term stock into it. Okay, understood. I understand that. Deshaun Watson, though, how do you? That's a terrible decision to bring him in, because there is more uncertainty. Yeah, you may have a bigger upside with Deshaun Watson, but you have a lot more uncertainty if this guy's even going to be able to be your quarterback in the near future. So I think this is a really bad decision on their part. But this is Miami. They've been making bad decisions for a long time now. So I guess they're staying consistent.
I assume the temptation is you got a quarterback that put up fantasy football level stats week in, week out the last several seasons, but you've got a ridiculous number of accusations against him in the civil proceedings in a Me Too era. And you have him being kind of a prima donna in terms of demanding a trade after he got a huge contract. So it's, which Deshaun Watson are you getting? Do you get to play him? Obviously big factors. I get moving on from Tua, though it's still a little early, but I get that, the guy keeps getting hurt. So they're like, okay, this was a problem in college. It keeps being a problem now. And it's not like he's flashing Deshaun Watson ability right now in the NFL, though Miami doesn't run the same offense that Houston did when Watson excelled. Bill O'Brien is now at Alabama. So, Watson, tons of talent. No question about that. Always had tons of talent. And he did it in Houston, where the offensive line often was an open sieve every week. And so if he could play in Miami from a pretty smart coaching staff and he's able to play, then, it's a no-brainer move. If the gamble is his character issues, both in the locker room and off the field. I think it's 45 women have now accused him. At some point, he's getting up to Bill Cosby Hall of Fame levels. Of allegations and accusations, and that's not necessarily the place you want to be. And it will be very interesting after the league, ran John Gruden out for a couple of inappropriate memes and comments and words a decade ago. Are they going to let Deshaun Watson play while there's 40 plus women who've accused him of credible claims of sexual harassment and sexual assault?
It's insane. It's that like you just said, the John Gruden thing. Like, all I care about is consistency. Whatever rules you want to establish, that's fine. Then you got to have some consistency. And the John Gruden thing and the fact that Deshaun Watson still, just is free to do whatever he wants with this many allegations, it's just crazy. But I don't think he's the answer in Miami currently right now. If you say, hey, all 45 women are, making it up, which I think we all think that's a crazy scenario, but hypothetically, if Deshaun Watson is clean and there's no allegations that's going to follow him, yeah, he's a better choice than Tua, I think, for the future. And I say that as someone that really loves Tua, but that's just the facts. But you have to take this into consideration. It's a massive red flag.
Yeah, and he seems to be possibly expanding the teams that he'll go to. Carolina is now looked at as a potential trade place for him to land, that he may approve a trade to there. And they just benched Sam Darnold, in the third or fourth quarter after they were getting the brake speed off of him. So that's a possibility. That team looks a lot different without Christian McCaffrey, doesn't it? A lot of people want to say that, no running back is worth giving money to. Christian McCaffrey is one of those guys. Christian McCaffrey is a generational talent at the running back position, and he drastically impacts the game when he's in there and the game plan. So,
I think, Matt Rule is a great coach, and they brought in the offensive coordinator off of the Sean Payton tree that helped LSU to the national title in 2019. And I think, they briefly made Teddy Bridgewater look good last year, and then people figured it out and fell apart. And going back to what Jeremy said, in the NFL, your little schematic tricks don't work for long. You can get away with it in college your entire careers. And if you're, say, Mike Leach at a lower level of performing, you're not in the SEC, for example, then you can get away with it for your entire career until you get into the SEC. But I think you're seeing the same thing now in terms of once the shine wore off and they figured out what they were doing to mask Darnold's weaknesses, they just started beating the daylights out of them. And now all of a sudden, Carolina's back to a pedestrian team when, they were off to a 3-0 start and people were talking about being playoff bound. I can see why Watson wants to play there. You have a lot of smart offensive coaches there, and there's a lot of respect for Matt Rule in the league. Though the same issues would be present for them as for Miami. I mean, it would be a heck of a gamble. Maybe it's not too big a gamble if you're stuck with no quarterback anyway. Like, Tua is better than Darnold, in my view, at this point. You're taking a bigger gamble by, bringing in Watson in Miami than you are by bringing him into Carolina. But, they face the same issues in terms of the off-field problems. But he would probably excel because even Bridgewater looked decent there. So much so he got a nice contract in Denver that he has not lived up to in Denver. And it's just a sign that Carolina has some of the best NFL coaches in the league, period, right now.
Yeah, and I think that we saw what they want to do. They would like Darnold to be mobile. He was like leading the league in rushing touchdowns the first 3 weeks, because they did obviously have the Christian McCaffrey threat they had to factor in, but they wanted him to run. They would love to have a quarterback that can run. I don't know if you could do that with Tua too much, though, because the man will break.
No, he will break.
The man will just break. So,
whereas Watson, he was running for his life the whole time he was in Houston, and he kept going.
He did get banged up a lot. I'll say that the man got banged up, but he still played.
He was a gamer. He was a pure
gamer. He is a gamer. And that's something that everybody has to respect about Deshaun Watson, regardless of how many chicks he got to give him a hand job after a massage. So
shout out Robert Kraft.
Shout out Bob Kraft. Yeah. That's the thing. Why does Bob Kraft get punished? Deshaun Watson. Nothing happens to Deshaun Watson.
Well, he was asking just for my old client, Lenny Dykstra. He asked for the Lenny Dykstra special. He didn't know what that Lenny thought it just came with the massage. As that was his explanation later. Oh, I didn't know that wasn't included. So we'll see what Deshaun Watson's defense is. Obviously, he got way too bored during the pandemic life because all this, the explosion of allegations came during that time period. He was just like dialing. Bueno.
We all fucking know what happened. Deshaun Watson got at least 24, probably a lot more chicks over there to give him a fucking hand job after a massage. And
that's where if you're his agent, don't you have to go like Tiger Woods style, set him up with the orgies and whatnot to make sure he doesn't do anything with someone who's non-consenting, know the difference?
You would think so.
You would think, but here we are.
Yeah. What can you do? Deshaun Watson in hot water. After a hot stone massage.
I bet Clemson would be glad to have Deshaun Watson right about now. After losing to not lowly in the rankings or in their season performance, but it's still Pitt. Pitt hasn't been, a legitimate national title contender since Dan Marino. And yet,
the ACC is so trash right now.
I'm screwed. I'm screwed no matter what with Clemson, because I don't like Dabo, but with what he's done, and I hope Nick Saban's there for another 10 years. I feel like Dabo is going to be the guy Alabama goes after. I don't want him. So it's like, if he wins and continues to win, it only makes his stock higher. If he loses and continues to lose, it'll only make him more likely to leave whenever Alabama does open up. I'm screwed either way. I think he will become the Alabama head coach whenever Saban leaves, and I don't want it at all.
Well, I think, it was something we discussed in the preseason previews that, the Clemson offensive coordinator almost got the Tennessee head coaching job, and he wanted more money, thankfully. So that's how we got Heupel instead. I was not a fan of him because in watching last year, when you have one of the all-time great college quarterbacks in Trevor Lawrence, and you have one of the great all-time college football running backs that was designed for your system, and you have several great wide receivers and an NFL first-round offensive tackle, you should not be you should not just be a good offense. You should be putting up near Alabama level numbers, and they weren't last year. And and it was like, okay, suddenly this offense is going to be great without any of those guys, and instead you're seeing a complete implosive debacle where you have one of the most talented offenses in all of college football, unable to move the ball against pretty much anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. They can't move it against Boston College. They can't move it against Pitt. So it's amazing. And I think people are shocked because they got so used to Dabo having this. He went from Deshaun Watson to effectively Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there was a little skip in between. But when you're talking about that level of quarterback talent, you're talking about, guys that
skews everything.
Absolutely. And now we're seeing how much was really Dabo versus how much was Dabo's recruiting as opposed to his offensive coordinators' coaching abilities, because his predecessor offensive coordinators that have left have not gone on to great things either. So it really suggests that there was too much credit being given to the coaching and not enough credit being given to the recruiting and the talent. And now he's burned for it, even though his quarterback was the number 2 prospect coming out of high school. He was supposed to be a guaranteed NFL quarterback, and he looks terrible. I mean, he looks, it's astounding. I haven't seen this implosive of an offense since Tennessee 2008 but that was because they were running weird Dave Clawson's offense, and that takes 4 years, like it does at Wake Forest, where he is now, to actually figure out how to run. So it's extra. This is one of one of the most disappointing performances of a very talented team in 20 years, something like that, and not counting Ed Orgeron, but he's already fired.
Go Tigers.
What happens if Wake Forest goes undefeated?
That would be crazy. Wake Forest. Once Wake Forest plays any of the big boys, historically they were like David Cutcliffe's Duke's teams. So they would beat up on anybody that had the same talent as they did, but they would get crushed when they stepped up big in class. So I'm curious. How much did Wake Forest give up? 50-something to Army last week?
56 points to Army, and they scored 70.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me they scored 70 because Army has no speed in this backfield, and what Wake Forest does is lots of gimmicks that confuse you. And they have better athletes, and if they have better athletes, they're going to score. That's the genius. And Clawson's offense was designed for this COVID year offense because he's got a bunch of fifth-year seniors, and it's a very complicated offense. It takes several years to operate, but once he got it operating at Bowling Green, he put up big numbers. It's why he had a brief gig at Tennessee. It was just people didn't understand that it takes years for that offense to work. But now he's got a bunch of fifth-year seniors, and so he's going to roll. And obviously, Clemson's not really a big risk. At this point, nobody in the ACC. Miami's having a down year. They upset NC State last week. I had money on them, so happy to see that. But they're not anywhere near a threat. Florida State, you never know what you're going to get.
They look awful. North Carolina is not near as good as anybody thinks, you said in your previews.
Exactly. They were my top 5 overrated teams, and they exposed that quickly. That Mac just doesn't have the talent there yet. People were jumping the gun on he's bringing in some talent. 2 years from now might be real interesting, but not right now. So you could have an ACC Wake Forest champion, undefeated in the playoffs. Like if we end up with the playoffs with Alabama, Georgia, Wake Forest, and Cincy, everybody knows who the national title game is. It's Alabama, Georgia is the national title.
Absolutely. It's going to be bad. And that's why, bring that on. Please bring that on. Go ahead.
I think you got to take you have to take it'll be Ohio State or Michigan or somebody like that will get in there before an undefeated fucking Wake Forest team. I just can't see it because they haven't played anybody. Like they have no one left on their schedule that's tough. They play like Clemson and North Carolina. Yep. Like that's their biggest test that they have left.
I think because they're so outmatched talent-wise with some of their opponents that they'll probably slip up. I mean, it was like Iowa. When Iowa was number 2, I was like, that's not going to last. I mean, this offense is terrible.
Well, they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. Who always upsets them. Always that's going back like 15 years. Kirk Ferentz cannot beat Purdue on a big game, and that's because Iowa's defense is designed to force you to play dink and dunk, but that's all Purdue does is dink and dunk. And that's why they've always given Iowa trouble, because they do exactly what Iowa tries to trick people into doing. And we'll see.
My bad. Go ahead. But yeah, I was gonna say, like with Cincinnati, that like they struggled versus, was it Navy, and like Navy. 1-6, yeah. And it's like I said, this is what happens. This is what Tom Brady's been dealing with 20 years. This is what Nick Saban's been dealing with 15. You go in there with that number 1 or number 2 ranking. And it doesn't matter who you are. You've got national attention, national prominence, and these teams that have nothing to lose. It's like, we're going to put it all out there. And that's what Texas A&M did to Alabama, and they deserved it. They played the best football. They played all out, and that stadium was rocking. That's what these teams are going to have to deal with. You're not going to have competition, but you're going to be dealing with your competition's best they can give you, and that's not always easy to deal with. So I've seen it too many times in college football. Most of the time, the teams that end up in those top 4 positions, they usually don't last because they can't handle the pressure, because they were not built for that anyway. That's why you usually see the usual suspects in the playoffs every year. So either way, if it ends up being Cincy and Wake Forest, Robert's right. We know who the national championship is going to be.
Yeah.
At this point,
I will say too. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like those looked like the 2 best teams in the country, Alabama and Georgia. I think almost all normal people are going to agree with that. I do think you're going to have a Big Ten team in there. I think it'll probably come down if Michigan gets by Michigan State this week, which we got some big Big Ten games that will decide, I think, that final team in the BCS if everything kind of holds out. Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan State. And I think the winners from that are likely going to be one of your teams that come out of the Big Ten.
Talent-wise, Michigan should roll Michigan State, but that has not been Harbaugh's history in the recent years. So we'll see. I mean, Michigan State was a team people didn't think would even have a winning record this year. And, great dominance, Mel Tucker in the transfer portal. What's really on the line for Mel Tucker is the LSU job, because if he keeps winning, he is in the running for the LSU job. I think Michigan State's going to get exposed down the stretch, lose 3 or 4 games. So I think he's going to be staying at Michigan State, because I think Sparty is good, but mostly they've been getting by with just a key few talent positions in a weak schedule. And that schedule's about to get real tough. And I mean, as we saw with Penn State last week, anybody can beat anybody in the Big Ten long enough. Though, 8 overtimes with a bunch of weird 2-point conversions was a little weird to watch. But I think it was a 9 overtime game.
9 overtime game between Penn State and Illinois.
Insanity.
Holy cow. How is that possible?
I had money on Illinois, so I was happy because as 24-point dogs, I knew. I was like, they can't cover that in overtime, right? They hadn't changed the rules in that way. But that told 2-point stuff. I couldn't understand. I was like, how is this in 6 overtime? It was just 3 overtimes 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, but now it's these weird new rules that they implemented starting this year, and it's like, it's crazy. You just sneeze, and all of a sudden there's 3 more overtimes that's happened. You're like, how the hell did this happen? I don't even understand.
Yeah, people were making up 10th overtime rules if it got there. They're like, only freshmen can be on the field. Like, all this random stuff that just made just about as much sense. I've always hated that. Like, I think that the NFL, although it's still flawed, like a little bit, I think the NFL has it right or righter than college football. Because I've never liked, it might be tense, it might be dramatized. Take like soccer or something like that. Games that end on penalty kicks. That would be like an NBA game that gets decided on free throws, although it might be like, oh, everybody's got their eyes on it. It's not the sport. It's not playing the game. And I think we've gotten too far away from that in college football.
And personally, I like the old school days when they had ties. I liked it in college football when they had ties and I liked it when coaches had to decide to go for 1 or 2. Because they knew it's either a tie or it's a loss or a win. I'm going to go for the loss or the win rather than gamble on and just get stuck with a tie. That to me was always a lot more fun. I still liked it. It didn't bother me when teams tied in college football. So I like that better, frankly, than these 10-9 overtime games of the luck of a 2-point conversion.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if you make it to where these coaches have to make aggressive decisions, you can move them away from this type of stuff. And if you put just like the NFL overtime rules, if you kind of implement that into college football, like just make it to where coaches don't even want to go to overtime because they can make decisions. If you're in position for a field goal to tie the game, you're in position for a Hail Mary. If you're in position to score a touchdown and an extra point ties, you're in position to win the game with a 2-point conversion. And make coaches have to weigh those decisions instead of playing for the tie to get the opportunity to go into overtime. Make them play for the win in those moments. You can do it. Make overtime something no one wants a part of. Like, no, I don't even want to touch overtime. They can do that.
Like Arkansas did a couple of weeks ago, where they decided to go for it against Ole Miss, go for 2 rather than gamble on the overtime process. I think that the 9 overtime game should have been a reminder to everybody this was not so much fun, and maybe we should reconsider what we're doing, and maybe just go with like Ryan said, an NFL style overtime, maybe 10 minutes, both teams get the chance to get the ball once and see what happens, and something even that would be better than their current rules. But I didn't mind the old school rules. It's decided in 60 minutes one way or the other.
Yeah, I think there's things they can do, but things like this are fun, and we get to talk about 9 overtime games against Illinois and Penn State, which we probably wouldn't be talking about that game too much unless. Go ahead.
Who lost money on that game? James Franklin, because Franklin was in the reining to get the USC gig, and it probably let everybody go, well, hold on a second. Has James Franklin actually done anything really that spectacular at Penn State? Because he really kind of hasn't.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't have anything against him. I just don't. I think his stock's a little too high. I see you in the chat, Terry B. Make overtime great again. A
lot of people would be down with that. Really quick to kind of wrap up the NFL topic, since I put him in the thumbnail, I want to talk about Matt Nagy on the hot seat in Chicago. He has been for a little bit. Ryan Pace, the GM, has been on the hot seat. They looked so bad against Tampa Bay. Not just the offense, but the defense as well, obviously. Tom Brady will do that to you, but in one half, the way they looked, it was miserable. And they continue to put Justin Fields in really bad positions. This is the second week in a row that the team has told him to quick snap it because they thought there were 12 men on the field to get a free play. And that was that first interception, which did, help along in that Tampa Bay dominance. When they tell him he's got a free play, he throws the ball up, it gets picked off, and then after the play, they're looking around confused because he was told by Nagy to fucking quick snap it. So to me, I feel a lot of pressure building on Matt Nagy. Chicago Bears fans are patient but impatient at the same time. And the thing is, they drafted Justin Fields with the knowledge that this means we're giving Nagy and we're giving him time to develop this guy. I don't know. It's starting to get really bad in Chicago sports media, and I don't know if he's going to last. I don't know if you've seen anything or what your opinion is, Jeremy. But
I obviously watched that game, and I told you, I was like, Justin Fields, like, regardless of how bad of a situation is, his body language was so bad. It was so bad. And again, regardless of how bad of a situation you're in, you're the team leader, like you're the quarterback, you're the guy that was drafted to come in, and his body language reminded me of Cam Newton body language. Like back when if things weren't going Cam's way, he would pout, he would mope, and that's not a good quality for your franchise quarterback. And I like Justin Fields. I have nothing against him. I liked him in college when he wasn't, when it was not a threat to anybody playing him in championship games or whatever. Just, I liked him as a player. I thought he was good, but he didn't impress me at all. Now, in terms of, Matt Nagy, like the team doesn't look, and again, you follow this closer than I do, Ryan, but the team just does not look like they are dialed in. They don't look like they have the proper structure at all. They don't look good. So I think based on what I saw yesterday, if that was a glimpse into, now obviously you're playing the best team in the NFL right now, probably, but the team just looked a mess. They looked a disaster, and it looks like it's probably from the top down. Didn't he just get COVID, by the way?
Matt Nagy did. Yeah, today they announced that he has COVID, so he probably won't be playing or won't be coaching, which maybe that'll save his job. I don't know. I think some of that Justin Fields' body language you see might be because like he feels like his staff's failing him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like once again, you're being told things from these guys that you trust that you need to put your faith in, and you end up looking like an idiot because of it on the field.
Well, that's true, but you got
you still got to overcome. I agree.
Trevor Lawrence has got, a creepy Urban Meyer, running his career into the ground, and he still seems like he's got, seems like he's still got a good, head on his shoulders and, keeping things positive for the most part. Now, I haven't watched every, Jacksonville game. But
to be fair, like that's got to be like the easiest place to fucking play ever, because literally no one gives a fuck. Like no one cares. The only people that people ask questions about are Urban Meyer because he's Urban Meyer. Literally no one. There are no Jacksonville fans that are pounding on the door for Trevor Lawrence. Why aren't you doing this? Come on.
Yeah, I see your point though, because obviously the Bears fan base is huge and passionate and demanding, and Jacksonville's just like, we'll just drive a few hours and watch Brady. Screw you guys.
Yeah, Jacksonville fans are tarps, so they don't speak out too often. What do you think, Robert?
I think Nagy was brought in to be an offensive mind off of the Andy Reid coaching tree, and I don't think we've seen any signs of that through multiple seasons now. He inherited an exceptional defense that, with Khalil Mack and others only got better talent-wise, and he's mostly held steady with it, but hasn't improved it any. And the offensive side of the ball, where he's supposed to finally fix, Chicago's inability, the Bears' inability to be a good offense for many, many years. I mean, Lovie Smith rarely had a good offense there. Rex the Hex Grossman was good for a little while, and then that fell apart. I think, on paper, Fields should fit, a Donovan McNabb style offense with a lot of, play action, and with him rolling out and bootlegging and something that looks like more of the Minneapolis offense with Kirk Cousins, something of that effect. But they haven't quite implemented it, and Nagy never seemed to really take to the head coaching role. And some of this, Peterson had one good year, the Super Bowl year with the Eagles, but then fell out of love in Philadelphia as well. So it's not clear that picking people off the coaching tree is always the best path to go. I mean, almost every Belichick assistant, as an example, has been a debacle as a head coach. So you wonder whether I think his days have to be numbered. They should be redesigning and refitting the offense for Justin Fields. The reality is Lawrence, anybody would look bad, in my view, with Nagy's offense, even people who have excelled or are excelling in other locations. So it's time Chicago is a tough place to coach because the fans have high expectations. So I can't see how they're going to keep him, but we'll see. But I think this will be Nagy's last year in Chicago because the Bears does suck at the moment.
They do indeed.
They do.
Now,
it sucks so bad. Even Ryan wearing a Brady jersey in New England. That's how bad they suck. So you've been getting roasted for that so much.
It's not like they played the Bears.
I know.
I could have, if I had a little more info, I might have been able to go, or a little more time, I might have been able to go to this Bears Tampa Bay game in Tampa. If I'd been able to make a couple of arrangements, but
you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers making fun of the Bears fans in Chicago, talking about how he owns them. That used to never happen in a Chicago situation. So it tells you that the Bears' identity has slipped away, and it starts with the head coach.
Aaron Rodgers has owned them.
Yes, I mean he was just telling the truth. He's like, I own you.
Exactly.
I'm not even a Rodgers fan, and I loved that so much. I'm like, God,
I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it. I love the idea of it.
It's so good.
And he did his whole tirade against wokeness and all the rest the next day or two. So that was fun. That was good to see.
It was fun, but it was also completely inaccurate. He was right about what he was saying, but he was using that to talk about people that were criticizing him for what he was doing in the offseason, which had literally nothing to do with woke or cancel culture and everything to do with the fact that he was trying to send a message to the Packers and he was making it all about himself and potentially sacrificing the team chemistry for sake of that.
Deeply ironic, because basically the complaint he had was the complaint Favre had when they drafted Rodgers. That they, overlooked rather than get some key wide receivers to help Favre at the end of his career. They went and picked Aaron Rodgers in the first round, and Rodgers was a prima donna from the day he showed up in Green Bay. That's why he's never been as beloved in Green Bay as Brett Favre is and always will be, despite even playing for the Minnesota Vikings later in his career. So it's ironic to see him complain about the Jordan Love pick and want to make a point a year later about that, given that's how he himself got into the league in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Brett Favre, when you're driving tractors around and sending dick pics, who doesn't love a guy like that? So
hey, sometimes you gotta fucking pop your cock out of those Wrangler jeans and send into some Jets reporters.
I love Brett Favre. He's awesome, dude.
Brett Favre. When did Brett Favre stop playing? We were talking about Brady, but when was
41?
When did the Bears retire his ass by slamming him on the frozen tundra?
It was 41.
That is what they did.
He was 41, if I'm not mistaken, when he retired.
That was when they're playing outdoors in Minneapolis, which was insane.
Because the dome dome fucking had snow collapse, so they played on University of Minnesota's place, and it was frozen. And the Bears took that old man, they fucking threw him down on the ground and knocked his ass out, retired him.
Well, let's see. Hang on. So, was it? I thought it was 2007. The 2007 was the last year in. Trying to remember now. Green Bay.
Yeah,
because they played the Giants.
I saw his last great playoff game.
Yeah,
I mean, I was there for the NFC Championship between Minnesota and the Saints, where he was fantastic. The whole game was fantastic. Saints fans were crazy. He came off the field screaming in pain. So I was shocked when he went back in and knew at that point it was only a matter of time. He really should have put it, gone home then. He hung in there for one half more of a season too long.
Yeah. Yep. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We are here every Monday. This is our biggest audience so far. The show keeps growing every week. So thank you guys so much. Monday Evening Quarterback. We're here every Monday to kind of give you a recap. So thank you guys so much for being here. That is awesome. So great turn.
Absolutely. I got to hop off. I got to hop onto a client call a little early. Okay. But yeah, this was fun. Yeah. So we'll be back next week and keep it going. And I mean, it's amazing. You get new stories, interesting stories every single week. Because that's the way college football and pro football is growing and developing. It's been one of the best college football seasons I can ever remember.
It's been fantastic, except for that loss Alabama took. So listen to me. That
just made him stronger for the long run.
Probably did. But Robert, appreciate you, man. We'll see you next week, and have a good one, man.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, see you, Robert.
Bye.
There we go. Now we're going to hit some of you guys' super chats, and then we're going to react to something Enes Kanter just said, even though this is not usually talking about basketball. It's Monday Evening Quarterback. But once we get through these things, everything you guys are talking about, we got to do a reaction to another Enes Kanter video. SBD Girl, what's up? Jessica says, could we get a live stream or edited video of Ryan watching a Bears game? Should be entertaining. Well, one of the things we want to do is eventually we want to get a place in Orlando and get a studio together where we can do that, where we can be doing watch parties like you see at Barstool.
That's right.
You can see me and Jeremy argue about things in real time.
Argue about absolutely nothing. Someone finally said it in the comments. They were like, what did they say? They said overrated literally means that everyone else has a higher opinion of something that you don't. Jeremy's just arguing to argue. I'm like, finally, someone gets it. I just like to argue.
Like literally, I'm telling you like what the definition is. Like that's literally what our arguments are about. Just over and over again, I'm telling you what the definition of a word is, and you're saying, well, what? And I'm like, no. Your opinion is you don't think the word should exist outside of sports.
I just don't like how people use the word. Most people don't understand what it really means.
All right.
Anyway, we'll save that.
We can't.
Tuesday night's main events tomorrow.
Bryson Gray's going to be on there, and we're gonna fucking argue about overrated or not. Bryson, do you think things can be overrated?
But Bryson Gray will be on tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And me and Ryan cannot. We just cannot have a stream without arguing. But we're gonna try.
That's good. Taker 610 for $5. Says careers of Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes looking very similar, including losing to Tom Brady in their attempt to repeat as Super Bowl champs. That's true. I would say that actually though Russell Wilson went on to look kind of better as a quarterback in general after. We've only got a year and a half of a year of Patrick Mahomes since that, but we'll see. I didn't even think of that though. JJ52 for $1.49, banana sticker and a poop sticker for $1. Thank you, JJ52. Taker 610. Is Mac Jones the best rookie quarterback so far?
I think so far that's absolutely the case. I mean, he's in a great situation with a veteran coach who's going to maximize his ability, but Mac Jones is doing really good. I'm really impressed with him. And I was impressed with him, and I'm not going to lie. Like, Mac, I wasn't thinking, man, because, of course, Mac had a fantastic year at Alabama, won the national championship. I wasn't sitting there thinking, man, whoever Mac Jones goes to, they're going to have some great player. But the moment that New England picked him, it stood out to me for the obvious reason of Belichick. But Belichick and Saban are tight. So that meant that Saban told Belichick he should take Mac Jones in the first round. If that's not the biggest stamp of approval you can have, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So that at that point, I'm like, okay. And I love Mac. He's a great guy, and he's the right type of guy that Belichick needs. It's a perfect situation for him. I think that the Patriots have their long-term quarterback. I absolutely do. I'm really happy for him.
Yep. We got a super chat from George Heath for $5. Agreed. I think that was about something Deshaun Watson related. Thank you, George Heath. Talix for $5. Barnes rocking a Packer hat. Oh, the cheeseheads memes will cometh for sure. There, hey. Thank you very much, Talix. Yeah, I think he's up there in the Wisconsin area right now. So that's why he's joining us remotely. Chris Coran for $5. I guarantee that I will take you to Brady's last home game when he officially retires, Ryan. I'll take you up on that.
What about me?
Yeah, get fucked, Jeremy.
What about me? I'm the Brady guy. The fuck?
No.
This is bullshit.
Yes, the one ticket and one ticket alone. It's for me. Thank you, Chris. Lulu Blue for $5 with a keep it up super sticker. Thank you so much, Lulu. You are amazing. We love you. Thank you. But Enes Kanter is not letting up, and this time, this one might be a little bit different than the China stuff.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it. So
yeah, let me share the screen here and get the audio
saw it and
going.
I sent it to you. But I know you covered this yesterday on Sports Wars. Not this video, but this topic.
Right. So Enes Kanter plays for the Boston Celtics, has been extremely outspoken, really his entire career, but really ramped it up the past few years. Some of his takes have been absolutely outlandish, and I don't agree. However, what he's saying recently over the past few days, he has gone after China while talking about freeing Taiwan. He has gone after China talking about slave camps, things like that. Now this one, he's going after Nike, who is a very, very close partner with the NBA. This might go over a little bit differently than just getting Celtics games banned in China, which is what happened when you insulted the CCP. This might have some big ramifications for the NBA, but let's listen to what he says here. Enes Kanter from the Boston Celtics. Dear Nike, stop the modern day slavery now. Hashtag hypocrite Nike. End Uyghur forced labor.
Dear Nike, your company says that you are making a positive impact in our communities. And that is true. Yes, you are. Here in the United States, Nike stands with the Black Lives Matter. Nike stands with Stop Asian Hate. Nike stands with the Latino community. And Nike stands with the LGBTQ community. And Nike remains vocal about injustice here in America. But when it comes to China, Nike remains silent. You do not address police brutality in China. You do
They
not.
are hating this
about
so
this
much
situation.
because he says everything they want him to say, but then he still destroys them. So it really makes it tough for them to discredit him now because he's pushing their nonsense while also calling out their hypocrisy. This is a big problem for Nike. They can't dismiss him as an alt-right bigot or a Yahtzee. Holy shit. This is so funny. This
exactly.
is so funny.
And that's what I mean. Like Enes Kanter is like he traditional like left-wing takes. He has a lot of those. That's why I said I disagree with him on a lot of takes, but he also is his own person and he's going to step up and say these things. So he's saying, I care about social justice. I care about the LGBT community, but I care about what's happening in China. You aren't speaking on it. Let's continue.
Community. You do not say a word about the oppression of minorities in China. You are scared to speak up. Who makes your shoes in China? Do you even know? There are so many forced labor factories in China. For instance, Uyghur forced labor in modern day slavery, and it is happening right now in China. Millions of Uyghurs are currently detained sold, and assigned to work at forced labor camps, prisons, and factories across the country. They are under constant surveillance with long working hours and poor living conditions. They are subject to political re-education. They have no freedom of expression, no freedom of religion, and they are not even able to leave. Did you know that almost the entire apparel and footwear industry is tainted by Uyghur forced labor? Many well-known global brands are implicated, and yes, that includes one of the NBA's biggest sponsors, Nike.
Woo, man. So this is acknowledging, right? This is acknowledging, hey, I play for the NBA. One of the biggest sponsors is Nike. Hey, Nike, get fucked.
I can't wait to watch how they do this, because most people that call out all this stuff out typically are people that have like views like me and you know what I mean? Yeah. You got someone who agrees with their virtue signaling narratives here in the US, but is calling out their hypocrisy. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is a problem. Enes Kanter is a problem for the NBA.
Yes, he is.
They do not allow any forced labor in their supply chains. Yet, they don't have the receipt to prove it. They have not publicly committed to cutting ties with the Chinese government's labor transfer scheme. They have not provided clear timelines or updates about their efforts to end this. They have not publicly committed to the steps outlined by the coalition to end Uyghur forced labor. Don't forget, every time you put those shoes on your feet or you put that t-shirt on your back, there are so many tears and so much oppression and so much blood behind it all. Nike likes to say, just do it. Well, what are you doing about the slave labor that makes your shoes? That slave labor that makes you rich? To the owner of Nike, Phil Knight, I have a message for you. How about I book a plane tickets for us? Let's fly to China together. We can try to visit these slave labor camps, and you can see it with your own eyes. LeBron James and Michael Jordan, you guys are welcome to come too. Nike must be a participant in this. Stop with hypocrisy. Stop the modern day slavery now.
Holy shit. He just brought Jordan and LeBron into it. What? Okay, so I want to be consistent. I want to be very consistent with what I've always said. I respect him. I respect him so much because I don't agree with what he says about the virtue signaling stuff, but it doesn't matter. He is consistent, and he's like, what if we said, LeBron James, if you really believe in this, why don't you call out China? All you woke people, if you believe in it, why don't you call out China? He's doing it. He's doing it. I don't agree with him, but he is doing it, and you have to respect consistency, regardless if you agree with it. And the fact that he threw Jordan and LeBron into it, wow.
Yeah, he's calling out everybody. You can't get like, unless he calls out like, the Clintons or something, you can't get really higher than calling out the NBA, China, Nike, and now LeBron James and even Michael Jordan himself. And Enes Kanter is a man who's had arrest warrants out from his home country of Turkey before for kind of the things that he said. He's not afraid of this stuff. And the fact that he has now tripled down and is now calling out everybody, including one of the NBA's biggest sponsors, you have to wonder what the NBA is going to do. I think they tried to ignore the China stuff. I don't know if they can ignore this.
Nike is going to get involved with it. They're going to have to pick up the phone and be like, Adam, call LeBron and see what we can do, since Adam Silver has no balls, which LeBron doesn't either, but LeBron runs the league. There's no way. There's with as controlled as this league is, there is no way that Nike executives have not already contacted the NBA about this. This is beautiful. And this is what we continue to say. When you are out there, I'm looking right now. I have the page pulled up on Twitter, and I'm looking at Nike's bio, and they have hashtag Black Lives Matter and hashtag Stop Asian Hate in their bio. When you are constantly virtue signaling to that level, it's about damn time somebody called out your hypocrisy. Somebody that agrees with your nonsense here in the U.S. So now you're in a bad spot.
And as our friend,
Hill versus Bayface said it best.
It's a woke on woke crime. It's a woke on woke crime, and those are the most interesting ones to sit there and watch. And that's what we will be doing. We will be sitting here and watching and laughing as hypocrites try to spin and try to figure out what to do, because they have gone so far with their virtue signaling. They have backed themselves into a corner, and in that corner is Chinese forced labor for Nike. We'll see what happens going forward. But thank you, Az, for that £17.99 super chat. Appreciate it, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
That is crazy. So that was we normally just do the Monday evening quarterback, but that story was kind of out there. So I sent it to Ryan, see if he wanted to respond to it. We've also got like Floyd Mayweather defending Kyrie Irving.
What?
Yes. It's in Teams right now. Vinny is posting like a madman right now. So many things are happening right now. So many things are happening. My goodness, man.
Let's see.
And this is the woke, and again, as the super chat is perfect, like woke on woke crime, because it's like at some point you're boxing yourself in with this nonsense. You're boxing yourself in, and it's going to be impossible at some point. And right now, I think this Cantor story is really going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for them. And I hope he continues to do it. And like right now, that tweet, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping places like the Daily Wire pick it up. You know, obviously Breitbart and all these things. Maybe Fox News picks it up. Yeah. And give it a signal boost, because that video needs to go super viral. And if it goes super viral, then they probably they want to ignore it. But the point is let's make them not be able to ignore it.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking about not being able to ignore things. We just saw a group of people outside of the Brooklyn Nets arena the other day chanting "Free Kyrie, let Kyrie play" after the NBA not the NBA specifically, but the Brooklyn Nets made the decision to not allow Kyrie Irving to play because he has not gotten the jab. Not that he couldn't practice, not that he couldn't play away games. He definitely could, but they decided to just ban him straight up to try to put all the pressure and all the blame on him for not playing this season. And a lot of people come out to defend him. A lot of people were there protesting. Now we got Floyd Money Mayweather defending the NBA's Kyrie Irving in a video. A free man makes his own choices. Let's just watch the video, Jeremy. We just reacted to another video, so we might as well do this one too. Floyd Mayweather. Choice is defined as an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. America gave us the choice to take the jab or not to take the jab. As time moves on, that choice is gradually being stripped from us.
Hell yeah.
Listen to this, man.
Kyrie, what's up? I know you're going through a lot. We had a chance to hang out in 2016 when you represented America, when you represented the red, white, and blue. You only want to be treated fair. I was going to post something on one of my social media pages, but I decided to do it the old school way and read it out to you, because you're a great person, great father, great athlete, and you believe what you believe. America is the land of the free. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and supposedly freedom to choose. Never be controlled by money. I respect you for having some integrity and being your own man. A free mind makes its own choices. An enslaved mind follows the crowd. Stand for something or fall for anything. One man can lead a revolution to stand up and fight for what's right. One choice, one word, one action can change the world. It's crazy how people hate you for being a leader. I hope your actions encourage many others to stand up and say enough is enough. Respect to you, Kyrie, and power to the people.
Hell yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
And listen, this is what it takes. The reason we have gotten to this point is because there have been so many actors and so many influencers and all these things who have literally been paid in some cases to shill this injection. Like that's what it's been about. They have controlled the narrative around it. You hear it everywhere on TV, radio, whatever. You hear people promoting you to go and do the right thing. Now you're starting to have some influential people that have had enough and are standing up and speaking out. Not to say don't take it, simply to say make your own choice.
Exactly. And so for anybody saying that, oh, well, now suddenly they're for athletes just, getting into what? We're for athletes saying individuals should have their choice. No, we're for individuals having their choice. That's it. Like if Floyd was sitting here going, 100% you shouldn't take it, I would be like, that's not really what I believe in at all. Like you should let people, let people make whatever decisions they want. And that's all he's saying. He's not saying Kyrie is right or wrong. He's not saying you should or shouldn't take it. He's saying let individuals have their choice. That's it. That's what so many people are standing up against this authoritarian nonsense. And it's not going to stop. It's only going to continue to grow. And that's what we've been doing. And because we know that no matter what, like, we know what's going on. We know that people are not supportive of this. The mainstream narrative, the big tech narrative, is to make you believe that people are like this, but they're not. And more influential voices are speaking out.
Absolutely. And, Pat Riley in the comments says that sounded like a Nike commercial. Well, it's pretty ironic, isn't it? Colin Kaepernick, remember that ad? Stand up for something, even if it costs you everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Kyrie Irving is doing right now.
Yep.
Not like the fake Colin Kaepernick, fake victim bullshit. That's what Kyrie Irving is doing right now. And Floyd Mayweather is coming out in support of him making his own decision. And that is something we're going to see more of because it is extremely powerful.
Yep.
Whew, man, I didn't expect to be talking about that today.
That's a lot, man. There's a lot going on. Benny's just dropping bombs on us, man. So
I'm too fucking busy, Benny. God damn it. Benny keeps giving me shit to make me do videos.
Yeah, now we got Mike just dropped. Dave Chappelle just released a response to his Netflix special and announced the documentary he shot during the lockdown.
That's what I'm trying to get fucking. That's the video I'm trying to get fucking monetized.
It's crazy, man.
That's the one
so
they won't
much
fucking monetize for me, fucking asshole.
But yeah, shout out to Money Mayweather for supporting freedom, because that's what it's all about right there. You have the freedom to decide to do whatever you want with yourself, for you and your family. That's what we support. We support freedom. That's it.
Absolutely. Jess, aka SBD Riffle 5, like the line from the musical Hamilton. If you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for? There you go. Thank you, Jess. We appreciate that. Jack of all casual for 5, a man chooses, a slave obeys. Andrew Ryan from BioShock.
Great game. Great game.
All right, guys. Well, we didn't expect to close out with that, but that is going to do it for us. Monday Night Football is about to start, or maybe even has started. I don't know exactly what time it is, but we thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, don't forget, tomorrow night, we got Bryson Gray on Tuesday night's main event, the #1 artist on iTunes for Let's Go Brandon. He will be live tomorrow with myself, Ryan, Young Ripa, and we're joined by Bryson Gray. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
that's on the main Geeks and Gamers channel. Yeah, that's going to be on the main Geeks and Gamers channel.
That's going to be fucking awesome. Can't wait for that. And he's doing big things out there right now. We're glad to have him on. It's a good timing, isn't it?
Yep.
Thanks for hanging out. Biggest one we've ever had here, guys. We're going to keep growing these Monday evening quarterbacks. We appreciate you. And
yes, SBD girl. I will be on premium tonight. So I'll be hosting. Crystal will be there. We're going to do it up.
There you go. Thank you, everybody. We will talk to you later. Peace.